Well, good morning. It's that time of year. Leaves are starting to change color, footballs are in the air, and kids are back to public school and on college campuses. Our focus this morning is on one of those college campuses. It starts right now.
From TV6, this is The Ryan Report. Here's your host, Don Ryan.
Well, Fritz Erickson was named president of Northern Michigan University 4 years ago. In his fairly short time at the helm, he has led NMU to a number of innovative changes and new developments. This morning we'll talk about that and more as we welcome Fritz Erickson back to the Ryan Report. President Erickson, welcome back.
Thanks very much for having me. It's always fun to be here.
Thanks for being here. Is the new school year off to a good start?
That new school year is off to a great start. Busy, but great.
You kind of cross your fingers and make sure it all goes well?
I watch everything so very closely.
Okay.
So
there's so many things we could talk about. Let's start with the fact that I know you've just finished one of the major capital projects with the opening of your new residence halls. That has to be really exciting.
Yeah, you know, this was the first new resident hall project in over 50 years for Northern. And so this was really a labor of love for a lot of folks on campus. It was creative in terms of its design, the innovative work with the students, and they had enormous input into it. In fact, the very name of it, The Woods, came from the students. And so, and then how it's all come together has had a very important impact on the university.
And that's kind of exciting. You know, we look at it, you can kind of see 6 separate buildings there.
Yes.
But they really aren't, are they?
It really is a complex. And much to the chagrin of a number of our alum, we put a hallway, which we call the Main Street, through all of it so that our students don't have to go outside. Okay. And so they are able to go walk into the newly renovated dining hall, which the students renamed Northern Lights Dining. We created some very innovative features in it, including a student success center. So students late at night, if they're studying and they run into that problem with a calculus class and they need some help, they can just walk downstairs, and there's a success center staffed by other students there to help. Very innovative project for us. We have a classroom in there, and of course the most notable feature beyond the rooms themselves is the lodge. And the lodge opened last January, and it's been a wonderful success. It really has become the family room of the university. You can walk in there day or night, always open, and students are doing the kinds of things they would do at home if they were in the family room. They're sitting on their laptops, they're studying. You'll find an occasional student taking a nap, a lot of reading, students gathering, eating pizza, sitting by the fireplace. It's a wonderful addition.
And I know you've also been tearing down some of the older dorms, but you kind of didn't go all the way, maybe?
Well, one of the problems our most recent successes have had, Matt, we couldn't tear down one of our dorms. We had nearly 300 more students requesting residence hall space. And so we left Spalding Hall up this year to accommodate those students, and we're working through plans to decide if we should add another building onto the Woods or look at some other housing options for them.
And I know the new ones have been very popular, haven't they?
They have been very popular. We've had to go to lotteries and drawings. We've had more students that want to get in there than rooms that are available. And it's really had a pronounced impact on our students in so many different ways. And it's nice to see, you know, when you start off building an $80 million project like this, you hope they come. So we're very happy that this is something our students wanted.
Well, you built it and they did come.
They did come.
You've also done some interesting landscaping on campus, adding over 180 trees, I believe?
We've added 180 trees, put in a groundwater system for those trees, created brand new planting beds. In fact, we'll be dedicating a planting bed for our former provost, Paul Lang, coming up, and very excited about that. How the campus looks and feels right now is, many alum have told me, it's never looked better, and so we're very pleased with
So
that.
this has been pretty exciting. You have one other big project that's kind of still in the works, or is still in the works, I should say, and that's at the University Center. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the University Center project is well underway. If you drive past the University Center, you'll find that the south wing has been pretty much, the second floor has been taken off. They're getting ready to put up the steel, and we're building a new 12 to 1,300 seat high ceiling ballroom. And the driver behind that are really twofold. One is our students really needed a place for large gatherings, whether that would be for a lecture or a musical performance or something like that. But they also needed it for meetings. For the last 2 years, we've had to turn students away from our major leadership banquet because the Great Lakes rooms were just not big enough. And so we're very excited about this. But we're also excited for what we think it'll do for the community. Well, this is a community venue, and to have a first-rate ballroom and meeting spaces is something that we heard throughout the community, and we're glad that we can help out with that.
Up until this time, if you wanted an event with numbers anywhere in that category, you had to go to the Berry Event Center. Or
yeah, you were there was just nothing in that way. 1,000 students in the Great Lakes room is a big, overly big crowd. 1,000 students in the dome looks empty.
Right, right. We'll talk about academics in just a minute.
Sure.
And some things you're doing in that area. Back with more on the Ryan Report just 2 minutes from now. Our guest this morning is NMU President Fritz Erickson. Well, first of all, you had some great news this year as far as enrollment goes. Yeah,
enrollment for a second year in a row looks like we're going to be up with our new freshmen and transfer students. We have 10th day coming up. As soon as we get that official count, we'll get that out. But we're going to be pretty close to 8, 9. If we get lucky, maybe 10% up this year.
We've talked before about the fact that the pool of students that not just you, but every Midwestern college is pursuing is shrinking.
It is a real challenge. If you stop and think about it, in the upper Midwest, there are now 45,000 fewer high school graduates than there were 8 years ago. This is an astonishing number, and so the numbers of high school graduates poses a real challenge for all the universities, and all of us are really striving to find ways in which we can have more folks head off to college, whether in our case it's for 4-year degrees, but also for career and technical degrees or other kinds of post-secondary experiences.
And why is Northern being successful? What have been some of the keys in your mind?
I think we've benefited from several things. First of all, the word is out about living, working, and playing in the Upper Peninsula, and so we're taking advantage of the natural draw that we have. And in fact, all of our marketing is very much centered on the lifestyle that we all have the good fortune to live here. And so our billboards, our brochures feature students ice climbing and students out on the lake and students skiing and all of those kinds of things, which is having, I think, a big impact. The other thing has been the expansion of some really innovative academic programs. And they've been widely received, and in fact, I was told this morning that it looks like we're going to set records for the number of out-of-state students that we have, because people are interested in the kinds of programs that we have.
In your convocation, I think it's called, your address in the fall, you talked about strategic, distinctive, and transformational.
Yes.
And that's really become your theme, I guess, if you will.
It very much has. Everything we do, we're very strategic about. We think about what it is to provide a quality experience for our students, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And we see the very nature of higher education, particularly public higher education, changing. And we think we're in the position to help lead that kind of change. And so that transformation, how we can respond and create new innovative programs without years of study, I think are really, really important. And of course, just being distinctive, leveraging our unique place, I think really makes it attractive for a lot of students to come.
Colleges, universities are usually slow to change,
Yes.
and reluctant sometimes to change. But you've said this is something we have to do.
Well, it is something we have to do, and I'm absolutely convinced one of the things we've been able to do is we've really unleashed the potential and creativity of our faculty. When our faculty come to us with an idea, our response isn't no. Our response is, how can we do that? And they're not all ideas are we able to do, and some things we try just don't work.
Right.
But that's okay, because we want to promote a culture where people are willing to take a chance, a risk, and we want to be partners in taking that chance and that risk.
And probably one of the interesting ones was the plant chemistry, which people call the marijuana class.
Yes.
And there was some giggling that kind of went on.
There has been.
It had many benefits, didn't it?
Well, it's been wildly successful, far more successful, frankly, than I would have thought. I thought we were putting together a nice little boutique program, maybe 20 students in it, but it has really captured the imagination of students across the country wanting to come to Northern. In fact, we've had news crews from around the country and around the world come to us to say, what is it that we're doing? And the amazing thing is, this is a student told me once, he said, this is a hardcore chemistry degree. This is a degree not for the faint of heart. They're here because they want to seriously look at the roles that medicinal plants can play, and it transcends marijuana. Marijuana gets all the sort of press, but the reality is all the other kinds of plant-based substances and their contribution to people's health, I think, are very important. And the students that have gone into this and are going into this field, I think, understand that better than most.
And that idea, like others, just kind of bubble up, don't they? Someone asked you, what's the next idea, and you said you're waiting to hear.
I am, and that was very much the message I had at Convocation, was how do we continue that, and what are? And we've got some great ideas on the getting ready to move from the back burner to the front burner. So I'll look forward to sharing those with you when the time's right.
Okay, and we'll share some more on this conversation in just a couple of minutes. Back with more on the Ryan Report after this break. Again, our guest this morning is Fritz Erickson, president of Northern Michigan University. Let's talk a little bit about education. I think we've reached a point where most everyone agrees that not everyone needs a college degree, but everyone needs post K-12 education.
Yeah, you know, it's pretty difficult to come out of high school without some form of post-secondary training, education, call it whatever you will. And I think one of the mistakes that we fall into from time to time is we think college is just for a bachelor's degree, and we create an us versus them mentality. At Northern, we have a long history of embracing our career and technical programs in the same kind of way that we do our bachelor's and graduate degree programs. It's one of the reasons we started a commercial truck driving license program. Yeah. And that was because one of our folks came along and said, you know, there's a real need for truck drivers. And you can't it's very difficult and very expensive to get trained, and what can Northern do about it? And so we received a wonderful donation from our friends at Meyer. They gave us a couple of trucks. If you've seen them driving around, they're great. I smile every time I see them drive by. The sheriff won't let me drive them, but that's another story. But that's really emblematic of our commitment to supporting the whole of our community. It's why we embrace all of the career and technical programs and see a very strong, vibrant future for them.
And we won't talk about them all here, but there are really many different opportunities.
Oh yeah,
in that area.
Absolutely. Construction management is an amazing program. I'm getting in trouble because I won't list them all, but between HVAC and welding and automotive and aviation, and cosmetology. I've had people say, why would a university have a cosmetology program? And I challenge anybody to go get your haircut for a mere $8 there and talk to the students that are in there. They're there because this is their passion and they wanted a collegiate experience. And so we think they're just as important to us as our Brain Tumor Research Center.
And there's certainly many opportunities, but you also have the middle college program.
Yeah, the middle college has been a wonderful, wonderful partnership with Marisa. They've been a real driving force. The kids that are enrolled in that, they actually stay in high school an extra year and are able to then have state dollars pay for them to come to us. And so this transition point allows them to earn certificates all the way up to an associate degree by the time they leave high school. If you want to talk about ways to save a family a lot of money, this kind of program is the way to do it.
And this, not just that program, but the whole career technical area that,
yes.
that you're involved with. It provides kind of a unique opportunity in the sense that someone may start out with an associate degree and decide later they need a bachelor's degree and they're on the path.
And vice versa. You know, I think one of the things that we miss is we forget there are real opportunities for people who are getting bachelor's degrees to also get career and technical certificates along the way as well. I had a friend of mine once say out of biology that if you really want to go practice some of the unique characteristics, say be a biologist in Africa, if you know how to fix a Land Rover, you're going to get that biology job. So this idea of us versus them, do this or this, I think is a mistake. I think the idea of being able to do both is a direction that I'm very excited about, and I think you'll see us do more and more.
And it is probably important that parents and kids start thinking about this earlier, right? Even at the junior high level.
It is. It is. I think to have a broad-based education is a wonderful thing, but the idea of being able to think about what your career interests are, the earlier you can, the better. Although, listen, we have a lot of students that come to Northern, and I talk to them and say, you know, what's your major? Right. And I don't know is actually one of my favorite answers because
I'm sure that's very common.
They find out.
And I understand you're going to have a new Wildcat on campus.
We are. We are. The estate of one of our longstanding board members and alums of the university, Gil Ziegler, made a donation that's allowed us to create a new Wildcat statue on campus. I believe it's 17.5 feet long, 6.5 feet tall, bronze. It's due to come in homecoming week. So that's when the dedication will be, and this will be truly an iconic structure where all the students and visitors have a place to stand with their friends and their families and get their photograph taken and really reflect on their time.
Be there in all its glory out in front of Jamrich Hall.
All its glory outlook, and we're very excited about it. Thing I'm kind of excited about, I've got some folks working on the ideas of, well, what kind of clothes are we going to put on it during various athletic events? So,
okay, very good. Thanks very much for coming in this morning.
As always, my pleasure.
We're going to talk some more about Northern. I've got some thoughts I'm going to share in just a couple of minutes. Back with more on the Ryan Report 2 minutes from now. Well, today with our guest being the president of Northern Michigan University, I thought I would spend a moment talking about the names that appear on buildings on the NMU campus, and one in particular, which I'll get to in a moment. The naming of buildings seems to fall into a couple of categories. Faculty members and administrators who have served the school well, names like Jamrich, Hardin, West, and Charles Cutler Spooner come quickly to mind. And then there are buildings named for major contributors to particular building projects. Cohodes and the Berry Event Center are two examples. But the real point of my story today is that as time passes, while the names of the buildings remain familiar, the people they're named for are often long forgotten. Many students who visit Hedgecock have no idea that C.B. Hedgecock was a legendary coach and athletic director whose time at NMU went back to the first half of the last century. But today I really want to tell you about someone else whose name adorns a building on the campus, a name that probably few people can identify, which is unfortunate because he was an interesting individual. The name is Walter F. Gries. That's spelled G-R-I-E-S. Gries was neither a longtime faculty member or administrator, neither was he a major financial contributor. Yet a building has stood for many years on campus with his name, Gries Hall. Walter Gries was born in the Copper Country in Lake Linden. He served in the Navy, and during his diverse career was a school teacher, a principal, a prison warden, and near the end of his working career was in charge of the welfare department for the Cleveland Cliffs Iron Company in Ishpeming. It was during that time that he was selected to serve on Michigan's State Board of Education, and it was probably as a result of that service that he was appointed to serve as acting president of Northern in 1954. Why was he needed by NMU at that time? It most likely related to Henry Tape, Northern Michigan's president from 1940 through 1956. Tape provided strong leadership and was very well liked, but near the end of his presidency he fell into multiple bouts of sickness. The first time was in 1954, and he and his wife went to stay with their son in Long Island, New York. It was apparently during that absence that Gries was called on to fill in, so he became the acting president of, at the time, Northern Michigan College. Well, that's my story, and a complicated one it was, but at least now you know the reason one of the buildings on the NMU campus has carried the name of a Yooper named Walter Gries on one of its buildings for many years. If the question ever comes up on Jeopardy, you're all set. I'll be back in a minute. It's time for us to wrap it up for another Sunday. The Today Show will be along in just a moment. Don't forget to keep UpperMichiganSource.com in mind if you missed the show and want to catch it later. It was good to have President Erickson with us today and to hear about some of the positive things happening on campus as a new school year gets underway. And thank you for tuning in. Hope you'll make plans to join us again next Sunday morning.